Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kuhn. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations to all the nominees. Thank you for being here. Congratulations to your families. Mr. Sheriff, if I could just start with you, I wanted to follow up on a question or two that Senator Kennedy asked you, because I wasn't sure that I understood your answers, but I bet you can clear it up for me. Let me just come back to questions he asked you related to your membership in the ACLU, the Southern California chapter. I think we've established that you're a member there. You said you contribute $120 a year. Fine. I just want to go back to these various statements that chapter has made, and my question is not, why did they make the statements? I'm sure that we can look up what the ACLU of Southern California said in which context. I just want to know your own views on it. I'm trying to figure out, do they speak for you on these matters? That's what I'm trying to ascertain here. So here, let's try this again. They have written, the ACLU of Southern California, that that U.S. policing has historical roots in slave patrols and in the forced dislocation of indigenous youth. Now that's a pretty strong statement. I just want to know, does that represent your viewpoint?
Senator, I do not have knowledge or background in terms of the origins, and I don't know what they were referring to there. I can speak to my experience with federal law enforcement, and I have tremendous respect and have worked closely, respect for, and have worked closely with federal law enforcement who I believe uphold the rule of law and serve the public interest every day.
Well, so are you telling me you think that U.S. policing, the U.S. police forces, I think the first standing U.S. police force was in my state, I think it was in the city of St. Louis. Are you saying that you think they might have historical roots in slave patrols?
That I don't know. I know the U.S. Marshal Service likes to state that they're the first federal law enforcement agency founded in the initial Judiciary Act.
My question is, do you think that U.S. policing has historical roots in slave patrols?
I'm not aware of that, Senator.
You don't think that it does? What about this? The same letter says that the presence of police has devastating and discriminatory impacts on tens of thousands of California students. Do you agree with that?
Senator, I don't know the context in which what that's specifically describing or talking about.
But in your own experience, I mean, are they speaking for you here? Do you agree with that?
In my experience, in Fresno, in the Fresno division of the Eastern District of California, on balance, I believe that the police, including the police departments which our office works with closely, and certainly federal and state and local law enforcement, are a positive influence.
Okay, good. Let's talk about ICE for a second, because I know you testified that you've worked with ICE. So the same chapter of the ACLU that you're a member of has said that ICE is not welcome here. They've gone on to say, as part of a package that they devised for children, they released door hangers, posters, and coloring sheets for children that included guidelines for how to use them. The guidelines said ICE agents resort to trickery and deception. Do you agree with that? Has that been your experience, that ICE agents resort to trickery and deception?
My experience, Senator, is with working with ICE agents on cases under 8 U.S.C. 1326 and other related criminal immigration cases, and I have found them to be diligent, hardworking, and ethical law enforcement officers.
Okay, good. So I think we've established that the ACLU of Southern California, at least as to these statements, they don't speak for you. I mean, you have the views that you've just articulated.
My views are not I'm not familiar with all of the ACLU's views, but certainly I have independent views.
Okay, good. Let me just ask you about this. You've also been a frequent contributor to the group Act Blue. This is a group that, as my colleagues on this panel have emphasized of late, have supported fundraisers with the theme "All Cops Are Bastards." Have you contributed to any of those fundraisers through Act Blue? All Cops Are Bastards fundraisers?
No, Senator.
And does that represent your view or experience with law enforcement?
That does not represent my view of law enforcement.
Okay. I think that those are helpful answers. I think we maybe could have gotten there a little bit earlier with my colleagues, but I'm glad to hear you distance yourself, frankly, from these statements, because I think those statements are pretty outrageous. And it concerns me a little bit that you're a member of a chapter that regularly, and we're not talking about one thing, we're talking about multiple letters, multiple projects, multiple issues over years from this particular chapter. But I'm gratified to hear you say that they do not represent you on these matters. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hawley.